Okay, this is the start of the functions chapter, chapter 2 in the Pure 2 book. So we're going to talk about composite functions. So composite functions, you have actually come across these before. It's sort of like a function within another function. So imagine this is one function and then there's another. Okay, we could write that as g f of x. Okay, but the secret to doing this really is understanding that means you just do some function first, and then that becomes the input of some other function. Okay, so you work from like the inner layer to the outer layer, right to left. So here's some quick questions. So what does this mean? So if you start with the inner layer, it says find g of 2. G of 2 just means, well, if you look here, it means the x has become 2. So it means change any x's in the rule to 2. So for example, that would be 4 times 2 minus 2. That's what g of 2 is. And that's 8 minus 2 is 6. Okay. Now, once you've done that, you're going to put that result into the function called f. Okay, so you do f of 6. And you do the same thing again with f. You just take this rule and you change any of the x's to 6. So it's 6 squared, which is 36, plus 1 is 37. Okay, so there's a few ways you can write this, but all of these things are correct. Okay. The one underneath, so if there's no number, what that means is it means that the x bit of f of x has become the rule g of x. So you write your rule out. Anywhere that you substitute in, you kind of do with brackets first. Okay, so that's the f of x rule. And now I'm going to put g of x in. So this bit here that would normally be x, I'm going to put in there 4x minus 2. Okay, and that's it. You could simplify this a little bit more. So you could do 16x squared minus 16x plus 4 plus 1. Yeah, but the idea, is really about you have a function inside another function. This one won't necessarily give you the same answer. In fact, a lot of the time, most of the time it won't. Okay, so you're going to write out the g rule here, and you're going to change all the x bits to the f of x rule. So the g rule is 4 something minus 2, and then the f of x goes inside that. Okay, so that's what you're going to do. Expand it out, 4x squared plus 4 minus 2. So overall it's the same as 4x squared plus 2. This one here, this just means the f rule inside the f rule. Okay, and this one here, so this is sort of like working backwards. So g of f of x, so we just found that, right? That's g of f of x, that's this bit here. So 4x squared plus 2, what you're going to do is you're going to set it equal to 38. Well, what does that look like? That just looks like a quadratic now that you need to solve. Okay, so you'd solve that quadratic. So these are all examples of a function within another function, which we're calling composite functions. A few more examples for you. So depending on whether you've seen this modulus function yet, you may need to skip ahead, but I'm going to assume that you're confident with this. So find fg of 3. Well, if they give you a number, which they have here, start by finding this one out. So you write out the g rule, but it's better if you write it out with a space instead of x. So space plus 1 over 2, and then you put 3 in there. Okay, so that's 4 over 2, it's 2. And now you're going to put that result inside the f rule. Okay, so it's 2 something minus 8, and then you put 2 in. So you get 4 minus 8, so you get this, and that's the same as just 4. These lines, if you haven't seen this yet, this means to make your answer positive always. It's called the modulus function. Let's do another one. So solve this one here. So f of g, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write out the f rule, which is like that, equal to x, and then I'm going to put the g rule inside, which is like this. Okay, do some simplifying, and I get the modulus of x plus 1 minus 8 is equal to x. That's the same as the modulus of x minus 7 is equal to x. How to solve this? Probably this is easiest to solve by just thinking about it. So what number, if you take away by 7 and then make the whole thing positive, is equal to x? So it's going to have to be a number where you sort of go from a positive to a negative. How about 3.5? What about 3.5? 3.5 take away 7 is minus 3.5. And then when you make that modulus, you get 3.5. Okay? So just for now, I'm doing this one a bit informally, okay? But that's how you would do it. You wouldn't really get questions where you're solving so much with these modulus brackets, though. It's more questions where you have a number that you should get used to. So what we've seen so far is you've seen putting in numbers. So, for example, if it says h1 there, what you should do is you should take the h rule and find h of 1 first. So something squared plus 5, and the something is a 1. What do you get? You get 1 squared, which is 1 plus 5, so you get 6. And now you're going to put that 6 result inside the g function. So 2 minus 6, okay, which is minus 4. Okay, we'll do just one more. Let's do this one over here. So g of 8 means you write out the g rule, which is 2 minus x, so 2 minus something, and that something is going to be 8. So you get minus 6. And now you do h of minus 6. So you write out the h rule, which is something squared plus 5, and the something is minus 6. Minus 6 squared is 36, plus 5 is 41. Okay, so that's substituting numbers. That's how I would do numbers. Substituting algebraically, so these should actually be written like this. So let's do a couple of these. So what does it mean? It actually means that. So you might want to start by writing your f rule, which is 2 something plus 1, and then putting the g of x rule inside. The g of x rule is at the top, is 1 minus 3x. Okay, and then simplifying from there. Let's do this one as well, the other way around. So if you start with g was 1 minus 3 lots of something, your input. And then what was the input? The input was f of x, which was 2x plus 1. Okay, and you would just simplify these ones. And some solving. So let's do a couple of solving ones. So f of f, right, okay, so you write out your rule, 5 something minus 3. And what's the something? The something is 5x minus 3. So that's the right-hand side done. You set it equal to minus 8, and you solved that one there. So what's that going to be? That's going to be 25x minus 15 minus 3 equals minus 8. Okay. And, you know, just keep going with that one. We'll do one more. We'll do this one over here. So g of f of x. So like we just did on the previous one, I'm going to write out the rule for g first, which is 3 something squared plus 1. And now I'm going to write the f of x bit inside, which is 5x minus 3. And I'll set it all equal to 28. Okay, make sure you square that bracket first. Okay, so it's 3 lots of 25x squared minus 30x plus 9. Yeah, like this. Okay, and that's going to be a quadratic. Okay, so we've got some more sort of exam style question ones to have a go at. So find f of g of 1. So g of 1 just means write out the g rule and put 1 in. That's g of 1. So what is that? That's 3 minus 1. It's minus 1. Now put that result into the f rule. So f of minus 1 is 2 modulus minus 1 plus 3. Modulus, this bit here just means you take the positive number. So what's the positive version of minus 1? It's 1. So 2 times 1 is 2, plus 3, it's 5. Okay, that's all you need to do. We will just do this other part here as well, and I will leave this one on the right for you for another day. So g of g, so you write the g rule, and inside the g rule goes the g rule again, plus the g rule squared. So let's just do some working out to the side. What is that squared? Well, it would be 16x squared minus 24x plus 9. Okay, so plus 16x squared minus 24x plus 9 equals 0. Or I could do 0 equals, couldn't I? All right, and you just work that one forward. So it's going to turn into a quadratic. Okay. Hopefully now you've got the idea then. So composite functions are a function within a function. You need to be aware of how to read the notation, and the main cases we looked at were when you have numbers, just sort of start working right to left. When you're working algebraically, be careful how you set things out. So I deliberately did things there the way that I did on purpose to make sure I was nice and accurate. And solving equations really is just sort of doing this second step with an equal sign and then solving from there.